Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Jay and I are back on a Thursday afternoon. I guess it's kind of the evening now. It's about 6 o'clock. Jay and I are going to finish up our over-unders finally. We're going to get the NFC East and the NFC West done tonight. So that'll get through all of our over-unders. We've done every division so far. If you missed your favorite team, go back and find it in our episode log. You can get it there. We've done every one by now, and we'll get it done tonight. A few other guys got paid because the deadline for the extension on if you were franchise tagged or whatnot was yesterday at 4 o'clock. We saw some guys get paid. We saw some guys not get paid. So we'll discuss that. Jay and I will. But first, Jay, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Got the COVID results back, corona-free.
Yep. Jay's
no
corona-free.
Corona here. Doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. I'm rolling with what the doctor says.
Well, at least it said negative, so we know that you're good there. But yeah, so that's good. Almost the weekend, man. So.
Well, I was off for the first 3. I was working from my phone and computer at home, but I've been home the past 3 days. So.
Well, there you go. Then
I go back to work for 2 and go back for a nice little weekend.
Yeah, that's always nice. But all right, let's just dive right into these guys that got paid. Notably, Derrick Henry got a massive extension from the Titans. Also, we had Chris Jones get paid from the Chiefs. You had who else got paid? Jay, give me some other guys.
Derrick Henry got paid. I know you said Chris Jones. I didn't hear you say Derrick Henry.
I did say Derrick Henry. Those were the first 2 guys that I mentioned. Hit me
really,
with the other ones that did. Because there were a few other guys.
Well, why am I blanking off the top of my head? I know Dak did not get his deal.
No, Dak did not get paid. And that also can be a topic of discussion. But
Cook's still looking for his deal. Kamara's still looking for his deal.
Yeah. We got some running back. Yannick Ngakoue for...
They're refusing to trade him.
Which I still don't understand why the Jaguars are refusing to trade him. I mean, he's a guy, we've talked about it a few times, Jay. I mean, you could probably get a second-round pick for him for Jacksonville. They're rebuilding anyways. He doesn't want to be there. Why not just try and get something for this Ezra? Because he said he's not playing. He's not signing that tag. He's not going to come play this year. So you're just basically going to have a guy who's sitting on your bench doing nothing. And then it just doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, because there's a lot of suitors out there for him.
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, yes. He was the guy that
cashed in.
Yeah, he got the most guaranteed money ever by a defensive player. 5 years, $125 million.
I don't know how long, and he comes back from whooping some dude over the head with a helmet and is now the highest paid defensive player.
Which, I mean, he's fantastic when he's on the field. That was just obviously a fucking bonehead move.
Yeah.
Idiot. The mistake that he made or whatever.
I had an argument about this with somebody because somebody texted me and he's a Titans fan. He was like, Derrick Henry gets $50 million, only $25 million guaranteed, while Myles Garrett gets $100 or $125 million guaranteed. And the last time you saw him, he was suspended, and Derrick Henry does so much for his team. And I'm like, look, man, you got to understand. Do I think Myles Garrett's that much better of a player than Derrick Henry? No. But you can find running backs a dime a dozen. You go through all the top running backs. Most of them were taken in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, undrafted. It's very rare you take a guy so high like Zeke Elliott, who now the Cowboys are probably regretting paying $90 million to for the output he put out last year and the wear and tear on his body already, when they see somebody like Derrick Henry get $50 million instead. So, and you look at like they paid Le'Veon Bell all this money, and he's not doing shit for the Jets. And you just look at these, and you can find running backs every year late. It's so much easier to find a good running back than it is a good pass rusher. So just in that logic, you're not going to pay as much for a running back as a pass rusher.
Yeah. I mean, exactly like you said, no, Derrick Henry or Myles Garrett probably isn't 100
4 times player,
$75 million more valuable to the Browns than Derrick Henry is to the Titans, because you saw what Derrick Henry was able to do once they inserted Ryan Tannehill into the offense opposed to Marcus Mariota. And I know that was a big topic of conversation as well yesterday, was how does Derrick Henry only get so-and-so money, and you saw what they paid Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, because A, it's the quarterback position, and they get paid a premium because it's the most important position. B, in my opinion, Ryan Tannehill is just as valuable, if not a little bit more, because before Derrick Henry, before Marcus Mariota, before Ryan Tannehill got inserted into that, Derrick Henry wasn't really doing anything. So once they were able to open up the offense, yes, that made Derrick Henry a little more valuable. So A, that made Ryan Tannehill just as much, if not more, to the Titans offense.
Yeah. So that's all I was trying to make the point to him was, look, I don't think Myles Garrett's 4 times the player like his salary reflects, or that much more important to his team. It's just you can replace Derrick Henry
easily.
And like you said, that offense didn't start exploding until Tannehill got under center. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not the biggest Tannehill guy, and I actually like Derrick Henry a lot. But let's see how it plays out this year. I think it was smart of the Titans to get him under contract. And look,
keep him happy.
If Derrick Henry if he thought he was worth more money, he wouldn't sign the contract.
Agreed.
So it is what it is. The Titans got Derrick Henry, what I think was a pretty good deal. Derrick Henry got paid. I mean, the dude is going to automatically get $25 million. He's gonna be taken care of for life. It's a win-win for both sides. I never saw Derrick Henry getting Ezekiel Elliott money.
No, I didn't either. I actually want to give you a stat on Derrick Henry that I saw that honestly just blew my mind. Over the months of his yards per carry, in September and October, he averages 3.9 yards per carry. November, he averages 5.9. In December and January, he averages 5.4 and 5.3 yards per carry. So, dude basically...
That makes sense to me.
Dude basically can take the first 2 months of the season off, and then he's the best running back in the league come the stretch time of the year.
Well, think about it. He's huge. He can take a lot of hits. He punishes people when he runs the ball. So when the weather gets worse down the stretch, he's getting more and more carries, and he's punishing defenses that are, by the end of the season, wore down.
Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously...
And that's not a knock on him.
No, it's not, and you get more injuries towards the end of the season. You get guys who are a little bit banged up, and they're just like, man, it's 10 degrees outside. I really don't feel like getting run over by this 6'3", 240-pound guy that runs 4.5.
240's light. He's like 250.
Yeah, well, there you go. One of those two. 240, 250, 260. Whatever he is, he's a massive human being.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be in front of him.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty good deal for him because this was his 4th season in the league, and if you get him for under 4, that's usually about the lifespan for a running back in the NFL is 8 years. So, and if it's his last year or his last 2 years, I mean, like you said, he already got his $25 million guaranteed. That's half of the contract that he signed. So, I mean, if it's by year 7, 8 where he's not performing, they probably can cut him and not take that much of a penalty. So I think it was a good deal for both of them.
I agree because he's the exact running back that Mike Vrabel needs.
Mm-hmm. And same thing with Myles Garrett. I thought the Myles Garrett contract was pretty good. I mean, maybe he was a little bit overpaid because I don't think he's the best pass rusher in the league. But I mean, that's just always what happens if you're close and you're next in line. You get that much more money. I think annually he makes $1.5 million more than Khalil Mack, who got paid 2 years ago. So that's just kind of what happens if you're around that. And Myles Garrett is potentially, he could be coming into this year the best defensive player in the league, the best defensive lineman. He could prove that he is because he has that
potential.
Yep. Yeah, and he could win Defensive Player of the Year and make this contract 100% worth it because I don't think it was a stupid contract by the Browns by any means for Myles Garrett if he keeps his helmet to himself.
No, because he's the best player on that team.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, if you think about me, if you don't put quarterback up on a pedestal, and I mean Baker Mayfield had one good year, but even then, just overall talent at their
position than Baker Mayfield
anyone on that roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Chris Jones, I texted you the minute Chris Jones got paid because I said, damn, the Chiefs are going to be so good for a very long time.
Yeah, they pretty much have all their good players locked up.
For a long time, for a while. Like Kelsey and Mahomes and Hill and Mitchell Schwartz and the Honey Badger for a couple more years. And now Chris Jones for 5 more years. And damn, I mean, they really don't have that many
running
flaws.
Back that they will have under contract for the next 4 or 5 years if they want them.
Yeah.
Who will be on a cheap rookie deal. and they basically have all of their
Frank Clark is another guy they have for about 4 more years, I think.
all the key positions you need to win in this league. I feel like they have stars and are locked down long term,
Yeah.
and they're just going to fill out all the rest with the draft every single year, just getting good young athletic players.
Because you saw how valuable Chris Jones was when he was hurt last year, and then when he came back, he was a game changer. Their defense changed dramatically. The pressure that he was able to get in the pass game, and also the presence he's in the run game, because he takes 2 guys up on the offensive line, that clears up a guy like Frank Clark, or they really don't have anybody else of big stature on the defensive line. Besides
he's
those
one of the
2
best
guys.
3 or 4 interior defensive linemen in the whole league.
Agreed. Outside of, he's right there with Fletcher Cox and Buckner
Aaron
and
Donald.
Aaron Donald.
Yeah,
So,
those are the 4 that came to mind.
Yeah, then those are probably the 4 best guys. Maybe you throw in a Grady Jarrett as well, but you get my point. He's up there with all the best ones, and good for all those guys that got paid. Because you see a guy like Dak Prescott who was unable to reach an agreement, but I saw that they were close on somewhere from 33 to 35 with 110 guaranteed. I don't know exactly what got it held up. I don't know if you saw, because I didn't see anything of what got it held up. Jay, did you?
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it was the agent. I heard that the agent wanted more because he was looking to. Well, it kind of contradicts itself when Dak Prescott's brother came out and basically said he's not going to be rooting for the Cowboys for that much longer. He doesn't like the Cowboys, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how much of that is because of what he knows, but I can tell you I've seen that a lot of people speculate that it was the agent wanting more money for Dak. It wasn't Dak saying, I don't want to take this deal.
Okay.
I think Dak was fully on board, but I think the agent wanted more money for Dak because he was also looking to bring in new clients and show them, hey, look how much I just made Dak Prescott. And he kept trying to get more and more out of the Cowboys and granted, I don't know this to be fact. This is just what I heard. And he went up over Dak, and Dak kind of trusted his manager to do his job. And at the end of the day, they didn't get it done in time. And I heard that Dak was kind of sour afterwards, like he wanted to take the deal and the agent was pushing for more.
If that's the case, because I didn't see that. That's, 33 to 35 with 110 guaranteed. That's honestly more than I would be willing to pay a guy like Dak Prescott.
Well, yeah, I think if you take Mahomes,
or be comfortable with my team, if I
would have been
a
the
fan,
quarterback in the league.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really don't know what to think because again, Jay, we've been on this train for 4 years. The minute they pay Dak all that money, they're gonna have to sacrifice at other positions, and I still don't. I think Dak's a good player. He's probably from 10 to 15. At 10 at the highest quarterback in the league, 15 probably the lowest somewhere. He's somewhere in between that, but he's a guy who needs a lot of help around him, and he's had a lot of help around him for his entire career. And I just don't know if he's going to be with the Cowboys any longer than after this year. Because who knows if he's going to keep playing under that franchise tag. I don't know if he's going to keep wanting to do that.
I don't know if he will either, but that's a lot of money to turn down.
It is, and I know we talked about it. It's going to be like a Kirk Cousins situation.
40-something million.
But, yeah. And who knows if the Cowboys even want to do that? Who knows if the Cowboys want to pay him $40 million guaranteed next year? Because on top of this year, what's he playing at this year? Like 31.4?
No, I thought it was like 34 something.
34? Are you sure?
No, I'm not.
That's why I said 31.4.
Maybe it is.
I think that was his franchise tag number this year.
What I do know is I don't expect him to be on the team much longer.
No, I don't either, unless just miraculous. Because I don't think the Cowboys are going to go any higher than that. There's no way. They've showed what they're willing to pay him, and if he's not, apparently, if he or his agent aren't on the same page of what they want to get done, I think the Cowboys just might cut ties with both.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he cuts ties with his agent soon,
or that could be true. His brother could be his agent.
Yeah, and unless he has just some spectacular 5,000-yard season, they go 13-3, and he just looks phenomenal and so much better than before. I don't see the Cowboys wanting to give this dude a long-term deal after he basically declined him this year.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Raising the price is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't see that either, but Who knows? I mean, I speaking of that, you said we're going 13-3. We'll do these win totals here in just 1 second. But I wanted to share with you, I don't know if you saw what J.J. Watt tweeted out about the NFL and the NFLPA, the Players Association, because they're trying to obviously get this season rolling. But according to J.J. Watt, they really don't know anything, because here's some things that he listed out that they know and don't know. I'll just read them off to you. He said, A,
right.
We want to play. We want to be as safe as possible. We have not received a single valid IDER plan, and that stands for the Infections Disease Emergency Response, from any team or the league. We don't know if there are any preseason games. We don't know if there will be daily testing, semi-daily testing. We don't know how a potential positive COVID test would affect contracts, roster spots, etc. Nothing has been agreed upon what training camp will actually look like, and with how this ramp up period will work. And then he finished it out again by saying, we want to play. But they have nothing. They have no plan at all. And that scares me, because we're in the middle of July.
Yeah, and I also saw where like 70-something NFL players tested positive for COVID.
Yeah. And again, they're not doing what the NFL's doing. They're not or NBA's doing. They don't have a bubble system, because it just couldn't work. There's way too many guys on a roster. They don't have anywhere like what Disney World has, with 3 arenas and all the hotels. They have no football fields with that size to hold those many people, so they can't do it that way. It's just, what if 7 guys on the Patriots test positive for this, and then it gets to 4 other guys, and then it just starts trickling down the line? What are they going to do? How are they going to test? They don't know. I mean, they just have no plan. It's strange.
It's strange and somewhat scary, because I think you and me both want the NFL to happen so bad. But like J.J. Watt's saying, we need answers. We need answers now.
Quickly.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the preseason is supposed to begin here in very soon.
Yeah.
8 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So what the hell's your plan, NFL? Now, trust me, do I think that the NFL is tirelessly working on a plan behind the scenes?
And I agree with that. I think they are, yes.
I absolutely do. They have way too much money at stake to miss out on a season. So that's why I just said it's kind of alarming, because I do believe that behind the scenes, the NFL is working day and night trying to figure out the best plan they can have to move forward.
And I agree with that. And like I said, I think there will be a season. It's because of the money. It is. It's strictly because there's way too much at stake for all these players, for these owners, for the sponsors. It really, honestly, for the fucking economy, really, for the NFL to go, because it needs it, and they need it. And it can obviously have effects on the years forward, and just everything. It's just, and I agree with you. I think they are working tirelessly. It's just worrisome right now in the middle of July that they don't have even 5% of a plan, from what J.J. Watt just tweeted out.
They have to start talking. They have to say something soon, because they're running out of time.
Yeah. I mean, and you saw what, I mean, we got to use the NBA as an example, because they're the sports league that's going to start right back up. And from 332 people that were tested in the bubble, only 2 tested positive, and those guys got kicked out, and they had to go isolate somewhere else before they could even come back. So what they're doing seems to be working, and it's safe. And like I said, they can't do that, but you got to figure out how often you're going to test these guys and how safe you're going to keep all these players, because you can't just have it just a breakout from teams, because obviously it's much more of a contact sport than really anything that we have. So, I mean, it can be spread very easily.
I need an answer.
Yeah.
Like J.J. Watt said, I need answers now.
Yep, because they want to play, and I know all of them do. So, yeah. I just wanted to share that before we move on. But let's get into these over-unders here, Jay. Let's just start in that NFC East. We were talking a lot about the Cowboys. Let's start at the top with the defending NFC East champion, the Eagles. Their over-under is set at 9.5. Jay, I'm going to say you took the over.
I did, and I'm going to say you took the over as well.
I did. I thought 9.5 was pretty low for the Eagles, because I think they're a very good team.
So do I. I have them at 11-5, but I'm guessing you have them at 12-4.
I do have them at 12-4. Yeah, and I think
I had them at 12-4, and then I took off a win. I put them down to 11-5.
That's fair, but I think their schedule is pretty favorable from a lot of the teams they get to play at home. They get a lot of good teams at home, but Go ahead. I want to hear why you've got them at 11-5, and then I'll tell you why I've got them at 12-4.
Well, one, I just think this is contingent upon Carson Wentz being healthy all year.
I know. I hate that we have to say that every time, but it's true. You do.
I know, especially with him. But I like their weapons now. You know, I'm a huge fan of Jalen Reagor.
Yes.
The receiver they took in the first round that I believe they took over Justin Jefferson.
They did.
I like Jalen Reagor a lot, so I think he's an immediate contributor at wide receiver for him. I called Jalen Reagor the next Tyreek Hill, and I know he underperformed in his 40-yard dash, but you just watch him on the field, and I think that's exactly who he plays like. He seems like a lightning bolt when he's in pads and helmet and streaking all over the field. What other Division I wide receiver is 5'10", and you see them throwing fade route jump balls in the end zone?
I believe
and he'll go up and
in the
snap
last 3 years in college football, he's led the NCAA in contested catches.
Yeah, and people question his hands. I'm like, get out of here.
I think he has phenomenal hands.
On top of that, I think the addition of Jalen Hurts is going to be very interesting and fun to watch because I think you started coming around to him towards the end of the
I wanted
year.
the Colts to take a shot on him.
And I really liked him, and I think that it's a copycat league. I really think the Eagles are going to use him a lot like the Saints do Taysom Hill. So I think you're going to see special packages, and I think if in a small amount of plays scripted perfectly for him in that offense, he's going to flourish in Philadelphia doing goal line packages, reverses. He's an athlete. He can go catch the ball if you need him to. He's going to be a mirror image of Taysom Hill to me. But outside of that, those were the two big ones on the draft. I think Carson Wentz coming back again. They get some guys healthy on offense. I think they still have Alshon Jeffrey coming back off the injury. They'll have a healthy Zach Ertz to go along with Dallas Goedert. So they might have the best tight end duo in all of football. Still have a good offensive line. I think I saw they're bringing back Jason Peters again on another year deal.
He's going to play right guard because Brandon Brooks tore his Achilles. So,
I'm more worried about the guys they lost defensively. And let me add one more offensive note. I do like Myles Sanders. He was my number one running back coming out.
I think Myles Sanders has a breakout year.
I do too, because they let two of their running backs go.
And
I
think
believe
he's a big reason. He's a big reason why I've got them at 12-4. Also, because they won't, if their guys stay healthy at receiver position, they won't be throwing to a JV team. Carson Wentz won't have to throw to a converted quarterback and Greg Ward because, yeah, exactly. You named off the guys who they're going to have healthy. Their weapons are tremendous. I love Doug Peterson. I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan. If he's healthy, I think he's a top 4 to 7 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he's up there. He's top 10 when healthy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's hate a little bit, Jay.
It's not hate.
4 to 7. That's a great.
There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, there's a few great ones. There's a lot of
and he's not great.
And then average ones. But anyways, what were you going to say about them defensively? Because outside of Malcolm Jenkins,
that's a big one because their defensive backfield was already the biggest question mark and the biggest Achilles heel on the team. And then they go and lose their best DB. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They lost a few other guys on defense, like
I think they lost Nigel Bradham.
Vinny Curry, Timmy Jernigan.
Yeah. But you also think they get Malik Jackson back this year, who they gave a lot of money to in the offseason, and he broke his foot and wasn't able to play outside of week 1. So that's another guy they're going to get back defensively on that D-line next to Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. So I'm not too worried about them defensively.
Well, I gave you all my reasons. Did you have anything to add on why
I kind of just piggybacked on what you were saying on here and there. I mean, you kind of sped out the whole Eagles roster for us. But I just have big high hopes on Myles Sanders this year and Carson Wentz. I think he can win MVP this year if he stays healthy. I really do, because I think they're just going to be a really good team. I think they'll get back to that 2017 form, Carson Wentz will, where he was going to win MVP had he not torn his ACL. So
we both took the over.
Yes, high hopes on the Eagles this year. All right, Cowboys. You were just talking about those Cowboys. You said Dak Prescott's going to take them to 13-3.
What the hell? I did not say that he was going to take them to 13-3.
You said if. I know. I'm just fucking with you.
Yes.
All right, over-under is set at 9.5 for the Cowboys, which I kind of thought was pretty high because they're an 8-8 franchise for the better half of 2 decades. I say you took the over, Jay, at 9.5.
I thought about it, but I have them at right under at 9-7.
Okay.
And you're going 8-8, I'm sure, because that's what history tells you.
Actually, I did the same as you. I went 9-7.
Oh, okay.
I did that either 9-7, 8-8. I think I projected them to go 9-7 last year. They went 8-8. You saw, I think they were 1-7 against teams with a winning record last year. So that's very troublesome for Dak Prescott. I know Cowboy fans can say all they want about him, but there's proof in the pudding. When he plays tougher competition, he's just not the same quarterback, and they're not the same team. So, I mean, you start with the Rams. I don't think the Rams are going to be very good, but their schedule's pretty tough, and I just see a lot of losses on that schedule because I'm still skeptical of their secondary and their pass rush on defensively. I think their offense will be fine because I like the addition of CeeDee Lamb, and you still got Zeke. I know Dak's, like I said, he's 10 to 15 quarterback in the league. Offensive line is still good. I just worry about their defense and stopping people. I do.
Yeah, I really like their draft. I think they knocked the draft out of the park.
And their draft was really good. I have given Jerry Jones a lot of credit. I think they've drafted well over the past 3 to 4 years. They really have.
Yeah, they have. But like you mentioned earlier, they went 13-3. What was that, Dak's rookie year?
Was it 2016?
Or maybe it was the second year. Whatever.
No, it was his rookie year. They were 13-3 in 2016. Him and Zeke's rookie year.
That's an outlier. That offensive line is not what it once was. And since then, like you said, they're just 8-8, 9-7, 10-6. 10-6 basically being their ceiling to me.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I like their roster. Defense kind of scares me, like you said. I love the addition of CeeDee Lamb on that offense to go with Cooper and Zeke.
And Michael Gallup. I think Michael Gallup's a good player.
Yeah, but they still, to me, have no tight end play. Their offensive line isn't that great anymore. And Dak is average. So with an average defense and an average quarterback, I don't see them doing much better than 9-7.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, like you said, that year where they went 13-3, that is sort of an outlier. And, I mean, last year, I mean, every time they played anybody who was any good, I mean, they were down like 30-0 to come the third quarter. And I know Dak had all these stats, and because in the fourth quarter he threw for a lot of yards, but it's because they were down. And I mean, you just saw the prevent defenses they were playing against, and it just, I mean, history does repeat itself. So, I mean, until the Cowboys prove that they're consistently double-digit win team, I just can't do it.
I'm with you.
And the Eagles, to me, are just a flat-out better team. They got a better quarterback. They got a better head coach, because I'm still not sold on Mike McCarthy for the Cowboys. I really don't think he's going to make any difference there, because I didn't think he was that great of a coach ever in Green Bay. You know my feelings on that, Jay. So I don't think that really does much for him.
And I don't think it helps the fact that he's not really standing on the table defending Dak Prescott and wanting him on the team.
Shit.
Exactly. I don't think that's a good sign.
Well, I think that's a good sign for Jerry, because Jerry doesn't want him to say anything.
True.
All right. Let's move to the crappy teams in this division. Okay?
Yeah.
The Giants over-under set at 6.5, which I thought was astronomically way too high.
What's the over-under set at?
6.5 for the
All
Giants.
right.
Yeah. I got the under. You don't even have to guess, because I know you took the under as well.
Well, yeah, they're not good.
No, they're not.
They didn't really do anything.
I don't know how I don't know how they're at this. I think their offensive line's trash. They might have the worst defense in the league. Their defense is very bad. Daniel Jones is the verdict is still out. He was better than I thought he was going to be in the league, but still we don't know. He could have a sophomore slump season. We've seen that plenty of times. Outside of Golden Tate at receiver, Sterling Shepard's never been able to stay healthy. Evan Ingram's never been able to stay healthy. Saquon Barkley without a good offensive line. I mean, he's just kind of like a rag doll back there, getting the shit kicked out of him. So their best players are at the skill position, but if you have no offensive line to give your quarterback any time, they're kind of useless. So I have them at 3-13. I don't think they win very many games.
I also have them at 3-13.
They're just bad.
They're not very good. I think Andrew Thomas, who they took with their first pick, does help their offensive line. I thought he was the most NFL-ready offensive tackle in the draft, but he's still a rookie. coming into the NFL. You can't rely on him to just come in and dominate and be.
He's not Quentin Nelson.
No, he's
what
not.
Quentin Nelson was able to do for the Colts. He's not going to make that impact.
So you like their skill guys. I still don't really like their skill guys. Daniel Jones, I will give you.
What I said is that's probably the best position they have on their team is their skill position. I love Saquon Barkley, but outside of Saquon Barkley, I don't think their skill guys are that special.
Yeah, the receivers aren't shit. Saquon can't carry the whole squad. I will give you that Daniel Jones did perform better than I thought he would as a rookie. We'll see what he does in year 2. I don't think he's the guy that's going to take them over the hill or even get them to that 6.5 wins that Vegas believes in. And on top of that, their defense is fucking trash.
Like I said, it's probably the worst in the league.
Anything to upgrade it, really. I mean, again, I like Xavier McKinney, who they drafted, but he's a rookie. And then outside of that, who do you bring in? James Bradbury, the corner.
Way overpaid that guy.
Yeah, and your next best guy you brought in for defense is what? Blake Martinez, who was
very overrated because he had a lot of tackles.
Which has been Green Bay's worst position in years, and he was their best at the worst position, and that's who you're hanging your hat on.
I think they've got two good defensive linemen in Dalvin Tomlinson and Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. Those two guys are good. And
they tagged Leonard Williams, but he didn't really do anything after the trade, and so far to this point in his career, he's kind of been a bust.
Yeah, he was not very good at all, but they just couldn't lose him for nothing. So
then your guy who they drafted pretty high last year, DeAndre Baker's over here robbing people. So who knows if he's going to be on the team?
Like you said, that was my boy. I don't like him for what he's doing off the field. I like his play on the field with Georgia.
So we'll see. Yeah. But I am not into the Giants.
No, that's
sell.
That's all I got to say on the Giants. Take the under on that because I don't think they can get anywhere close to 6, let alone 7.
Oh, our next team we get to talk about is actually in the news, so we can kind of talk about that.
They're a lot under fire right now. The Washington team. They have no name.
Yeah, we can't call them.
They have disbanded their name, so I'm not going to say it. I will just say Washington.
They are, for now, Washington.
There are a lot of legal things that are happening right now as far as sexual harassment claims by former cheerleaders against the owner and staffs, and you can go read those articles if you want. I'm not going to talk about it much on here. Outside of that, they're over under, Jay. We'll just talk about football. It's set at 5.5. Now, I do think they are improved from last year. I like their head coach in Ron Rivera. I like some of their pieces on defense. Chase Young, who they added, is an absolute stud. He may break the rookie sack record. I think Dwayne Haskins has a better season, but they're still a bad team. Their offensive line is no good. Kelvin Harmon just tore his ACL. You've only really got Terry McLaurin because I can't think of Darius Guice cannot stay healthy as a running back. So Washington, outside of a few pieces defensively, their offense is trash, and they're relying on Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin to do just about everything there. But I think the future... How do I put this diplomatically?
It'll depend on who the hell the new owner is if this one gets fired.
If Dan Snyder is forced to sell the team, which it's a very good possibility that that's going to happen, they could have a bright future because I like some of the pieces that they have.
And the coach. Big Ron Rivera.
That's one of the pieces that I like.
Yeah.
But I've took the under at 4-12. I think they're same as I think they were 3-13 last year, so they improved by 1 win. But still, they're just not very good, and they're building at it. So obviously, they know they're not going for the farm this year. Clearly, they want to build on some of the pieces that they have. So I'm taking the under, and I'm guessing you took the under as well.
I did, also at 4-12, for a lot of the same reasons you named. Love Chase Young. I think he probably just made their front four the best in all of football after San Francisco lost DeForest Buckner. Yeah. I'd put their front four right up there with anybody. And Ron Rivera is going to get that defense playing well. It's just I don't know how much this offense can do. Dwayne Haskins coming out of college could sling the ball. He's a good pocket passer, but he had some maturity issues, and he still had a lot to learn from an offensive mind perspective and reading defenses and learning keys and everything like that to go along with the fact that his best wide receiver was another rookie from Ohio State, and their weapons just they're not enough to put up massive points in the league. And I don't think Dwayne Haskins is that guy that can just say, get on my back and I'm going to ride you to the finish line.
Definitely not yet. He may become that guy, but now, no. I just don't see that, especially in his second year with what they've got to work with, because they just traded away Trent Williams, who was their best player offensively for 7 years or 8 years, however long he was there. So they've got a hole at left tackle. It's just they've got some work offensively.
Darius Geis can't stay healthy. They're relying on Adrian Peterson, who's probably 54 years old at this point in time. I got the hiccups.
It's what it seems like.
But it's like until they get more and better skill positions around Haskins and a better offensive line, I just don't see him doing much.
No, and neither do I.
I think they're trending upward for sure. And I think with Rivera in place, they can draft some good players and help this offense going forward, because I think that they have a young front four to go along with the defensive mind of Rivera, who will always have that defense firing and be what I would probably say they're probably always going to be in the top 16 to 18 defenses in the league as long as he's there. Yeah. So now it's just, let's get this offense up to speed.
I think as
years, and again, Haskins is in
with the Panthers outside of last year, I think he was in the top 15 every single year he was there.
There you go.
So I like I said, I like some of their pieces. It's just they got to find a name and a new owner probably. So we'll see for Washington how they fare. So all right, let's move over to the NFC West, which, Jay, this probably is the best division in all of football. It's very competitive.
I think it's the best for sure. I was going to say I don't think it's close, but there's probably some close divisions.
There's a lot of good teams. Like I said, I don't think the Rams are going to be all that this year. We'll get there when we get to the Rams, but this division is tough. It really is. It showed that last year. I think it's going to show that again this year. You got the Super Bowl runner-up in the 49ers. Their over-under is set at 10.5. They won 13 games last year.
What did you say their over-under was?
10.5. You went over?
I did go over. I have them finishing at 13-3 again.
Okay.
I just don't see many losses on their record. I don't see them being the worst team in almost any game they play. And, well, once you say that their over-under's at 10.5, that kind of scares me. Yeah. That makes me think, because I would have guessed that Vegas would have had their over-under at 11.5.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs,
maybe 12, baiting people to go high or low.
I believe the Chiefs and the Ravens were the only two teams at 11.5. I think the 49ers and the Saints were at 10.5. Yeah, I think there was only 4 teams with double-digit win totals.
But this team was a play away from winning the Super Bowl, and Vegas is having them go backwards. That's alarming to me. I don't know. I have them at 13-3. I'm guessing you took the over as well, but maybe at 12-4.
I did go 12-4. Yeah. So I think they decreased by 1 game, but still, again, I mean, this roster has very few flaws. I really like Shanahan as the coach. I mean, they've got a great GM. Jimmy Garoppolo was able to show what he can do. I mean, he's a very capable quarterback. He could go in there and win games. Sometimes he may lose you a few games, but he's also got a very good running system in there to play. They've got a good offensive line. They were the team that traded for Trent Williams because Joe Staley up and retired. So as long as Trent Williams can be on the field, they didn't miss a beat on the offensive line. Defensively, they added Javon Kinlaw to replace DeForest Buckner. So again, I mean, I know he's a rookie and you're replacing one of the better interior pass rushers in all of football, but I mean, I think Javon, you and I, Jay, both think he was the best pass rushing interior defensive lineman in the draft.
He was my best D tackle.
I mean, that defensive line, you saw the havoc that they wrecked on every single team last year.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to double team him because of all the other guys on that defensive line, so he's going to get a lot of one-on-ones.
They've got a lot of good players at every position. The
only other guy they really lost was Emmanuel Sanders at wide receiver, and then they turned around and replaced him with Brandon Ayuk in the second round.
And I'm a big fan of Brandon Ayuk, and I think he's going to just fill in seamlessly. And you saw with Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, there's just not a lot of holes on this team.
Not really any.
And I don't see much of a decrease. And like I said, I got him decreasing by 1 win. But, I mean, the 49ers are just a physical, pound you down the fucking throat team.
Yeah, and they're running back my committee. I know Raheem Mostert is demanding a trade or whatever because they're not willing to pay him. But it's because, kind of back to the Derrick Henry thing we talked about earlier, Shanahan is a running back by committee guy, and he believes he can insert any any running back in there and have production, and it's kind of true. They had a three-headed monster last year with a bunch of guys that no one looked as elite running backs in the league, with Breida, Mostert, and dude out of IU, Tevin Coleman.
Yeah.
So I believe, and I think it's true, he can replace him easily and just insert another running back into the league or into his backfield and have production. And a guy that I think people forgot about is Jalen Hurd, the running back receiver offensive weapon out of Tennessee that they drafted at, well, technically they got him out of Baylor, but he started his career at Tennessee. That looked very good in his one preseason game, and then he got hurt and didn't play all year. I think Shanahan's going to utilize him very well. And like you said, just not a lot of holes on this team. And
they're just
I have him at 13-3 again.
Yeah. I know typically the season after you lose the Super Bowl isn't very kind to that team. But again, they're a very well coached team. They do have a capable quarterback, and their defense, they can rely on their defense to help them win just about any game. You saw that last year. They did that. And so I won't doubt the 49ers this year. I doubted them last year.
I did too.
Jay and I both did, and they proved us both wrong. You know, somebody who I will never doubt again is Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson after that year where I thought they were going to go 5-11. And Russell Wilson pulled about 75 rabbits out of his hat that year, and they ended up going 10-6 or 11-5, making the playoffs when their roster just flat out was shit.
Russell's too good. He will not allow them to be average.
No, he won't. And I'm telling you right now, their over/under is only at 9.
That might be the best bet of all over/unders.
I know you went over because I did as well, because I thought that was extremely low.
I went 12-4.
I went 11-5, but I can easily see 12-4. I can. I honestly could see 13-3 just because of how much I believe in Russell Wilson.
They're better than last year, man.
I think they're a really good team.
They're better than last year. Russell Wilson, to me, I'm taking him over Patrick Mahomes. I know people don't want to hear it, but if you said you got one game, this is the squad you got around you, who do you want at quarterback? I want Russell Wilson. That's just my personal opinion. I think he can make chicken salad out of chicken shit. He hasn't had offensive weapons for the majority of his career.
He makes the longevity of his career.
Something out of nothing every single year. And now I think DK Metcalf looked way better than I thought he was going to be coming out. I just thought he was a physical freak, but he was damn near unstoppable at times during last year. Their running back position is kind of set because they do like to pound the ball, and Chris Carson mixed with Rashad Penny has shown that they can run the ball. The defense, I really like the Jordan Brooks pick. I think he's a fast, athletic linebacker that just does something for him. I know last year they spent a high draft pick on the TCU lineman Collier, and he got hurt, so I'm looking to see what he can do this year.
I think they need Jadeveon Clowney back. I do, because he was a game changer in a few of their games. I think that's where he probably ends up re-signing, especially based off of how weird everything is right now. I do think he goes back there, but I think they could really use him because, again, the pass rush probably is still their weakest position. And when he was, you could tell when he was there and when he wasn't, when he was hurt for a few weeks, because he was a big difference in their run game and in their pass game.
I'm really curious to see how Greg Olsen does in this offense, to see how much he has left in the tank. I forgot that they signed him. Yeah, to see how much he has left in the tank, because even at this stage of his career, minus maybe the first year Jimmy Graham was there, this is probably the best tight end he's had. Probably, yeah. Yeah, because he didn't get the good Saints Jimmy Graham years that Drew Brees did. He got the Jimmy Graham who was kind of scared to go over the middle even more, didn't block worth a shit, and forgot how to catch. And they didn't really lose anybody. No, they didn't. If they retain Clowney, hoping they can get Clowney. Yeah, they didn't lose anybody because they re-signed Jerron Reed. That Quandre Diggs signing or the trade in the middle of the year proved to be huge for them. And again, man, I just believe in Russell Wilson. I don't know if I would take him over Patrick Mahomes. I probably would, just because I've always had an love and an affection for Russell ever since he was at Wisconsin. Always rooted for the guy.
So, but still, I told you I'm never doubting him again. Man, they proved me wrong, so wrong that year, and I'll never do it again.
I refuse to doubt Russell Wilson.
And I just wish, I know Brian Schottenheimer tried to justify why they play so conservative through the first 3 quarters because they think every team is going to tire down in the fourth quarter and then they just let Russell Wilson go. That's fucking bullshit. Let him go in the first quarter so that you're not down 24-0 at halftime in a playoff game where it's winner to go home, and then Russell Wilson storms back and you only end up losing by 7 and he never gets to touch the ball again after he gets it to a 1-score game. So
I think play calling is the biggest Achilles heel on that team.
It is. It has been for a few years. It was in that loss against the Cowboys a few years ago in the playoffs where on 3rd and 16, Brian Schottenheimer tried to run a halfback dive. I'm just like, come on, man. Unleash this guy. So
maybe one day they will before he turns 40.
They better, man, because he's capable of doing it, and I think everybody sees that. I know Russell Wilson got a lot of hate his first 6 or 7 years in the league because people didn't think he was that good. And I think the past 2 years, I think he's really shown everybody that he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's been the real deal in my eyes since he entered the league.
Oh, I know, and same with me. Like I said, I've always loved this guy, and I mean, he's been the reason why they're that good. I mean, he's never lost one less than 9 games. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's get to the team that finished 3rd in the division last year, but that doesn't mean they're finishing 3rd again. And I thought this was really high. The Rams over-under is set at 9.
What do you? I know you're taking the under.
I
what
am.
do you? Well, I'm guessing you have them at 6 and 10.
I do have them at 6 and 10. I do. I'm going to say you took the under 7 and 9.
Lower.
5 and 11.
Lower.
4 and 12.
I have them at 4 and 12. I think they fall off a cliff.
I don't
really
think they're
do.
very good. I think they've, like I said, I think I said it a couple months ago that they're finishing last in this division because they're just not that good. They've lost their mojo. They've lost a lot of key pieces defensively. I don't even know who they have on defense. I mean, I do just based on I can look at the roster, but I mean, they don't have that same defense. They don't have the same offense. Their offensive line is really bad. Their receivers are getting worse. Todd Gurley's no longer there. That run game is not what it once was. I still think Sean McVay is a good coach, but I think people figured out a little bit what he likes to do, and they know what works against Jared Goff and what doesn't. So, yeah, I just don't think they're a very good team, man. I don't.
Yeah, I think they knocked the draft out of the park as well, but you can't rely on a draft class full of rookies to do much for you unless you're the 2018 Saints or whatever year they drafted all those good players and they just all perform. But they lost, like you said, a lot of – this is not the same team.
No,
they lost
it's a completely
Brandon
different
Cooks.
team.
They lost Dante Fowler. They lost Corey Littleton, Clay Matthews, Nickel Roby-Coleman, Eric Weddle. Arguably their best player, Greg Zuerlein, who's now on the Cowboys. They lost a lot of good players and didn't really replace them that well. And I think they have a lot of overpaid big personalities.
They have 5 guys that count for 45% of their salary cap.
I just think that the Rams are going to get off to kind of a rough start, and then egos are going to come out. There's going to be stories because, nothing can stay personal when you're losing, and then it's just going to get leaked into the media, and they just fall off a cliff towards the end of the season.
Well, I mean, look at just their first few games. They they play the Cowboys, then they go to Philly, they go to Buffalo, they get the Giants and Washington, but then they go to the 49ers, the Bears, at the Dolphins, Seahawks, at the Bucks, 49ers, Cardinals, Patriots, Seahawks, and Cardinals again.
They could easily
tough.
start the season at 0-3 and 2-5.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they could. I mean, and they probably will because like you said, whatever they did, whatever Bill Belichick did, because he seems to do this to a lot of people in that Super Bowl, everybody figured out how just the secret sauce to beat them and to really just get under Jared Goff's skin, figure out what Sean McVay likes to do. And then Todd Gurley's his knees just blew out on him, and we'll see if he can do anything with Atlanta. But once he was done, their offensive line is old, and they extended Andrew Whitworth for 2 more years. That dude's 40. I don't even know how he's still playing. He really wasn't that effective last year. So, Yeah, man, I just the when they traded for Ramsey, I just didn't understand it because their secondary wasn't one of their issues. So yeah, Les Snead just wants a lot of stars there, and Kroenke, he wants a lot of stars to fill that stadium in LA.
Yep, he's more into selling tickets than winning ball games.
Yeah, that's what it seems like with the guys. He just tries to accumulate stars, big names, so the people will come watch them. So, and they will, because that's the football team that they'll go choose to watch because they ain't going to see the Chargers.
You ready to get to someone I think me and you are both kind of excited to not only watch but talk about right here?
Absolutely. The over-under is set at the Cardinals at 7.5. I know you went over because I took the over.
Yeah, man, I have them at 9-7.
I do too. I've got them at 9-7. And that's a big improvement from last year where they were 5-10-1. I'll let you start on the Cardinals, and I'll piggyback off of you.
Well, I think Vegas tells you a lot if you just listen to them. I think a lot of people expect the Cardinals to be a pretty bad team because they have a lot of players that not a lot of the average fan doesn't know who they are. And yet Vegas has them coming out at 7.5. That's probably the biggest win total Vegas has projected them going into a season in the last 5 years. I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
because they just haven't been that good. And I like everything about this team. Their offense, just according to last year, was fun as shit to watch. So then you carry that over into this year where they go get DeAndre Hopkins, one of the top 5 receivers in all of football, give Kyler Murray another weapon to throw to. They lose David Johnson. I shouldn't even say lose him. They should have been celebrating. They didn't release him. Didn't they trade him?
I said happily replaced him.
Oh, yeah. Traded him when I thought someone would have to pay to get his contract.
Yeah.
They get DeAndre Hopkins out of a deal by giving up David Johnson, and they kind of replaced him last year, but they replaced David Johnson with someone who looked like a star in the making last year in Kenyon Drake, who didn't do shit in Miami.
He was
comes
awesome
to Arizona and looks
offense.
phenomenal. So you got a few young wide receivers to go with DeAndre Hopkins in that offense that are promising. And they have Christian Kirk. They still got Larry Fitzgerald. They got DeAndre Hopkins. The little dude out of UMass, Andy Isabella.
You got Hakeem Butler coming back, who I really liked out of last year's draft. He didn't play a single down because he broke his wrist, and it was a lot worse break than they thought. But, yeah, I mean,
And then defensively, they go and draft Isaiah Simmons, who can play everywhere, who's a terror on defense. They help the offensive line with Josh Jones, and they beefed up their defensive line with Fotu out of Utah and Rashard Lawrence out of LSU, who I really liked. Then they have pieces on defense already. I think Chandler Jones is the most untalked about superstar in the NFL, who consistently gets 15 to 20 sacks a year, and no one says anything about him.
He's extremely underrated.
Buda Baker on the back end. They have pieces. They have talent. No, I'm not saying they're Super Bowl bound, but I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year, and I think they're going to be one of the 3 or 4 most exciting teams to watch.
I agree, man. I'm really excited for this team. What was it when I told you about? It was probably 2 or 3 months ago when I said
you were on that bandwagon before I was. I had the Rams finishing 3rd up until a month ago when I really looked at the rosters, got the draft in. They trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and a lot of things happen. I'm just like, yo, I'm off the Rams. Let's go Cardinals.
They're better, and they're new and they're fresh. And Kyler Murray is so much fun to watch. He even said, I think it was a few weeks ago, where he said a lot of those sacks last year were on me, and I've got to be better, and I will be better because, I mean, that just happens with a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's learning the game, he's learning the system. He's realizing that, hey, I do have a lot of speed, but so do these guys who are 260 pounds chasing after me. They're pretty similar in speed that we've got. So I maybe can't run outside as much as I was in the Big 12, but I think he's extremely smart. I think he'll learn. And again, it'll help with DeAndre Hopkins being able to throw to him because, I mean, that dude was putting up like 1,200 yards with TJ Yates and Sage Rosenfels at quarterback and just you name it. I mean, this guy, he put up numbers and never complained, ever. He never had to play with a really good quarterback until Deshaun Watson, and you never heard a peep out of this guy because he still produced on the field and just made the most out of it. So I'm a huge fan of DeAndre Hopkins. I'd say he's probably the 3rd best receiver in the league behind Julio and Michael Thomas. But, man, they're just going to be fun to watch, and their defense definitely improved with like you said, Isaiah Simmons, who maybe was, after Chase Young, probably the best defensive player in all of the draft, and to get him at 8. So I just watch out for the Cardinals. I think they're really good. I'm excited to watch them this year.
Me too.
Yeah, like I said, no, obviously they're not Super Bowl bound, but hey, maybe they could fight for that 7th playoff spot. Since you're getting one more playoff team in each conference, it's possible that the Cardinals could get there.
Yeah, and it's not unlikely for the records that we just said to actually happen, to have 3 teams finish over with 9 wins.
Times.
Last year, San Francisco finished with 13, Seattle finished with 11, and the Rams finished with 9.
9.
In that same division.
Yeah, we've seen before where 3 teams from one division have made the playoffs before. I think it happened with the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers before. It's just happened because sometimes just out of the 16 teams in a conference, maybe 3 of the best 10 are in the same division.
This division is about to be nuts.
The division's good. It's very good. Yeah. I'd say it's the best in football for sure.
Agreed.
Not by a landslide again, because there's some pretty good divisions, but yeah, I'd say they're the best. It's tough, but man, I just hope we get football, Jay. I hope they find some shit out going down further. But we definitely can get out of here on that note if you ain't got anything else, man.
I don't.
No. All right. As always, please remember to subscribe to the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify and iHeartRadio app, Overcast app. Basically, anywhere you get your podcast, you can check us out on YouTube. Our content gets immediately uploaded there as well. You can follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hit us up, unwantedopinionspodcast@gmail.com. A lot of places for you to get in touch and interact with us. So do it.
Listen to the man.
Yeah, that's right.
Go subscribe. Go rate it and review it. Give us a thumbs up. If you're thinking about giving us a thumbs down, don't do it. Just keep on moving.
Yeah. But, all right. Until next time.
Until next time.